There is a moment silent, invisible, and always slipping past you, a moment that never announces itself with fireworks or fanfare. It doesn't wear a watch. It doesn't wait for your fear to settle or your doubts to vanish. But in that unremarkable moment, everything can change if you do. That moment is now, not tomorrow, not when you have more money, not after one more podcast or one more book, not when you feel perfectly confident. Now. Because the brutal truth: the world owes you nothing, and it never waited for anyone to feel ready. No one's coming. There's no divine intervention, no magic permission slip. Just you. Just this moment. Just the choice to begin. Most people miss it. They walk past that moment every single day, distracted by fear, dressed up as responsibility. They wait for clarity, for comfort, for signs. They wait for the right job, the right mentor, the right energy. But here's what they don't realize. The path appears only after you begin walking. The clarity you're craving. It comes through movement. The courage you think you need before you start. You earn it while you move forward. You're not stuck because you don't have enough information. You're stuck because you've let hesitation take the driver's seat. You've become addicted to planning and allergic to acting. Success doesn't knock politely on your door and ask if you're ready. It shows up after you've built a life worth answering the door for. This is the crossroad. Two lives, the one you're living and the one you could be living. And between them, not fate, not money, not talent. A choice. A single, terrifying, liberating decision to begin. You've been taught to wait. Wait until you're qualified. Wait until you're more experienced. Wait until it's safer. Wait until the fear goes away. But who taught you that? And what has it cost you? Let me ask you this: permission from who? Who decides when you're enough? Who gets to determine when your dream is valid? History was never changed by those who waited. Thomas Edison didn't wait until electricity was accepted. He lit up the world through persistence. Walt Disney didn't wait for society's approval. He built a universe from rejection. Abraham Lincoln didn't wait for a nation to agree. He led when it was divided, wounded, and breaking. They didn't wait. They acted. They moved. They became. Because the first rule of transformation is this: you must stop waiting. Waiting is seductive. It feels responsible. But it's not patience. It's paralysis. It's not wisdom. It's fear in disguise. And fear has a vocabulary. Maybe next time. Not now. I'm not ready. What if I fail? But let me tell you something that will change your life if you let it sink in. Certainty is a lie. There is no perfect moment. There is no 100% guarantee. There is no ready. There is only one thing that will ever separate those who change the world from those who just admire it from the sidelines: the courage to move without guarantees. Everything begins in the mind. Every revolution, invention, movement, it started not with money or power or luck, but with a thought. A single burning belief that refused to die. What you believe, you become. What you carry in your mind, you eventually hold in your hands. But belief is not some soft, fuzzy thing. It's a battlefield. It's a war against the stories you were fed, the voices that told you you were too small, too late, too unworthy. You're not ready. You don't come from the right background. You're not smart enough. You'll never make it. So did Henry Ford. So did Oprah Winfrey. So did every person who began their journey with nothing except belief. They didn't start with applause. They didn't start with confidence. They started with conviction and a willingness to bet on themselves. That's what separates those who wish from those who win. Belief plus is action. It's not the dream. It's not the strategy. It's the fire. If you want to change your life, you don't need a miracle. You need a mindset that refuses to bow to fear. You need a vision so sharp it slices through doubt. You need to see yourself not as who you've been, but as who you're willing to become. Because without vision, you're just reacting to life. You're busy, but you're not building. You're moving, but you're not progressing. You're working hard, but for someone else's dream. Vision is not a daydream, it's a compass. It shows you where you're headed. It defines what matters. It helps you say no to the things that steal your time and yes to the things that shape your legacy. Without vision, you chase distractions and call it progress. With vision, you attract alignment. You become magnetic. People can feel it even if they don't understand it. You become intentional. You become focused. You become undeniable. But vision alone isn't enough. You need something deeper, something rooted. You need purpose. Purpose is what separates the wanderer from the warrior. It's not motivation, it's not hype, it's not fleeting. Purpose is the fire that doesn't go out even in the rain, even when you're tired, even when you're lost. You think Steve Jobs built Apple because he liked electronics? No. He believed in a better world. A world where technology didn't just compute, it connected. A world where design and humanity could coexist. That belief was so strong it outlived him. That's what purpose does. It outlives your name. It turns effort into legacy. Your purpose must be that clear, that intense, that unshakable. It must be something you can't ignore, something you can't abandon even when the dream feels distant, even when no one claps, even when no one sees. And that's where discipline is born. Discipline is the cost of becoming. Everyone wants results. Few want repetition. Everyone loves the highlight reel. But champions, they live in the unseen. It's the early mornings when your alarm is your only cheerleader. It's the late nights when your to-do list laughs in your face. It's the lonely hours where you put in work while others scroll, sleep, and stall. Discipline is doing what must be done even when no one's watching. It's not sexy. It's not instant. But it's always effective. Because while others search for hacks and shortcuts, the disciplined are busy building legacies. Discipline is the quiet force that builds muscle, physical, mental, spiritual. It's the steel spine that shows up every day, even when you're scared, even when you've failed, even when everything inside you begs for the comfort of quitting. Most people confuse intensity with consistency. They burn bright and fade fast. They sprint for a week and disappear for months. But discipline shows up without applause. It's not a sprint, it's a rhythm. It's not a burst, it's a beat. And those who master the beat of discipline become unstoppable. But none of it matters if you don't take action. Action is the gate. Action is the signal. Action is the only language success understands. You can have the clearest vision, the deepest purpose, the most consistent discipline. But if you don't move, nothing moves. Most people hesitate. They want certainty. They want to see the whole staircase before taking the first step. But the universe doesn't respond to potential. It responds to movement. Action is how you say to the world, I'm not just dreaming. I'm building. I'm not just wishing. I'm working. Start before you feel ready. Speak before you have the perfect script. Build before the ground feels steady. Because movement creates momentum. And momentum creates inevitability. At first, your steps will be shaky. You'll second guess. You'll overthink. You'll wonder if it's working. But keep going. Because movement builds belief. Repetition builds confidence. And execution builds identity. You become the kind of person who follows through, not just the one who starts. And as you move, the world shifts around you. Opportunities appear not because they suddenly existed, but because now you can see them. People listen not because you asked, but because your energy speaks louder than words. Doors open not because they were unlocked, but because you stopped knocking and kicked them in. This is not magic. It's the law of cause and effect. You've changed, and now the world must respond. But don't confuse movement with progress, because without gratitude, you'll miss the miracle of the journey. Gratitude is not weakness. It's not complacency. It's not the passive be thankful message you hear from the sidelines. No, radical gratitude is fuel. It says, I love what I have, and I'm still reaching higher. I honor this moment, and I refuse to stay here. I see how far I've come, and I know how much farther I'm meant to go. Gratitude doesn't kill ambition, it refines it. It sharpens your perspective. It humbles your ego. It reminds you that you are not entitled to greatness. You are entrusted with the opportunity to create it. Think of Andrew Carnegie. Born into poverty, worked in a cotton factory at 13. Rose to become one of the richest men in history, but he didn't keep it all. He gave. He funded libraries, universities, world-changing ideas. Why not out of guilt, but gratitude? He knew what it meant to struggle, and instead of hiding his success, he turned it into a ladder for others. That's the power of gratitude. It multiplies everything it touches. But life isn't linear. Even the grateful get tested. Even the disciplined fall. Even the focused get knocked down. There will be setbacks, disappointments, delays, losses, and when those moments come, and they will, you must meet them with adaptability. Because the path to becoming is never a straight line. It twists, it bends, it breaks, and rebuilds you. Adaptability is not about weakness. It's about evolution. It's about shedding the skin of who you were over and over, so you can step into the next version of who you're meant to be. If you can't bend, you break. If you refuse to pivot, you stay stuck. If you cling to certainty, you suffocate your own growth. Look at Walt Disney. He lost everything more than once. He was told he lacked creativity. He lost rights to his own creation, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. His first business failed. He was ridiculed, rejected, dismissed. But he didn't stop. He didn't shrink. He didn't complain. He adapted. He started again, dreamed bigger, bolder. He gave us Mickey Disneyland and an empire of imagination because he refused to let failure define him. That's what adaptability is. It's not surrender, it's strategy. It's saying, if this doesn't work, I'll find another way, and if that doesn't work, I'll build a new path from nothing but fire and faith. But to adapt, you need something deeper than flexibility. You need resilience. Resilience is not loud. It doesn't beg for attention. It's the silent armor you grow, in the nights when no one sees you trying. It's the strength you find in yourself when everything around you is falling apart. Resilience says, I've been hit, but I'm still standing. I've lost, but I'm not done. I've failed, but I will not quit. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He failed in business. He lost in politics. He battled depression. He buried children. He led a torn nation through its darkest hour. And still he rose. Not because life was easy, but because he was determined to become more than what life handed him. Resilience doesn't mean you never fall. It means you rise faster than you fall. It means the world can shake you, but it cannot shape you unless you let it. Resilience is built in the quiet. It's not forged during the applause, it's created when no one's watching. In the early mornings when your alarm goes off and no one cares if you show up, but you do. In the late nights when you're tempted to numb, to quit, to delay, but you don't. In the tears you wipe on your own sleeve because you made a promise, and promises to yourself are the ones that matter most. You rise not because someone told you to. You rise because you remember who you are becoming. That's what this is. This isn't just discipline. This isn't just a dream. This is a contract with destiny. And every day you sign it again with your action. But none of this matters if you stop learning. If you think you've arrived, you've already started your decline. Greatness is not about having the answers. It's about asking better questions. It's about being obsessed not with being right, but with getting better. Leonardo da Vinci studied anatomy until his hands could no longer hold a pen. Einstein questioned the cosmos until his final breath. The greatest minds in history were lifelong students, not know-it-alls, because they knew this growth is not an event. It's a way of life. The moment you stop learning, you stop evolving, and the moment you stop evolving, you shrink back into the very average you once vowed to escape. So read, fail, try, seek, unlearn, relearn, adapt, expand. Make curiosity your compass and mastery your map, because you don't become extraordinary by accident. You become extraordinary by intentional transformation. And slowly, it happens, not all at once, but piece by piece, step by step, fall by fall, rise by rise, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you're no longer who you used to be. The person who hesitated. Gone. The person who doubted everything, outgrown. The person who waited for permission, replaced. What you see staring back is someone you built. Not born into it, not gifted it, not handed it, created through fire. And when that happens, when you finally meet the version of yourself you've been chasing, a strange thing occurs. You don't feel proud. You feel responsible. Because now you understand this was never just about your dream. It was never just about your success, your bank account, your name on the wall. It was about the standard you raise, the example you set, the light you carry in a world addicted to shadows. You've stopped waiting. You've started becoming. And now you lead by presence. Because becoming isn't about being seen. It's about being true. The higher you rise, the heavier the crown. Because becoming isn't just about climbing, it's about carrying. You carry the weight of your decisions, the ripple of your example, the standard you now represent. Because when you rise, others watch. When you rise, you become the proof that it's possible. You become the mirror that forces people to look at who they could be and who they've chosen to remain. And with that rise comes a new responsibility: character. Not image, not brand, not noise, character. Because reputation is what they say about you when you're trending, but character is who you are when they forget your name. The world doesn't need more influencers. It needs leaders. Not the loudest, not the flashiest, but the ones who show up when it's hard, who tell the truth when it costs, who act in alignment even when no one is clapping. Because real power is self-mastery. Power isn't dominance. It isn't control. It isn't the biggest title or the brightest spotlight. Power is discipline under pressure. It's emotion in check. It's values over convenience. It's knowing exactly who you are and refusing to shrink. Most people are ruled by chaos, by cravings, by moods, by opinions, by fears. But you've been through fire. You've trained for this. You've failed. You've adapted. You've learned. You've earned this peace. Now you don't need success to feel worthy. You carry success in the way you walk, in the way you live, in the way you love. Because now, success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become someone who commands it not with ego, but with evidence. And in that stillness, something even greater happens. You realize this was never about reaching the top. It was about becoming the kind of person who couldn't be kept at the bottom. The mountain didn't make you strong. The climb did. The scrapes, the storms, the detours. That's what carved the character. That's what built the courage. That's what earned the confidence. You no longer live off potential. You live off proof. You've shown up. You've shut out the noise. You've pushed through when no one saw. You've sacrificed without recognition. You've bet on yourself and you won. Not because everything worked out perfectly, but because you refused to stop showing up imperfectly. That is power. That is legacy. That is becoming. So now you move differently. You speak with weight. You walk with presence. Not because someone gave you permission, but because you took it. You claimed your place. You stopped auditioning for a life you were born to own. And when they ask how did you do it, you won't talk about luck. You won't talk about timing. You won't talk about some overnight success. You'll say, I stopped waiting. I started before I was ready. I fell. I failed. I got back up. I showed up when it was quiet. I moved even when no one saw. I did it scared. I did it tired. I did it anyway. And that's the only story that matters. The story of someone who refused to live their life as a rehearsal. Someone who lived with urgency, with courage, with fire in their belly and vision in their bones. Because while the world was waiting, you were becoming. So let them wait. Let them scroll. Let them settle. Let them cling to comfort. But not you. You've tasted what happens when you commit. You've seen who you are when you don't give up. You've witnessed your own rebirth, forged in the fire of action. So stop hesitating. Stop asking. Stop doubting. This is your moment. This is your chapter. This is your life. You don't need a new year. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the crowd to clap. You just need to decide. Right now, this breath, this step, this day. This is not the beginning of the journey. This is the journey. So, stop waiting, start becoming, and never look back. Let's talk about the fear, the quiet, constant whisper that follows every dream. It says, what if you fail? What if they laugh? What if you lose everything? What if it doesn't work? But ask yourself this, what if it does? What if your fear is guarding the door to your breakthrough? What if the thing you're avoiding is the thing that will awaken your life? Here's the truth. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is feedback. Fear is proof that you are aiming for something greater than what you've already mastered. You don't fear what's behind you. You fear what's ahead, because it matters. Fear isn't the red light. It's the green one. It means you've stepped outside your comfort zone. And nothing worth becoming has ever been created inside the lines of comfort. The ones who rise don't eliminate fear. They walk with it. They act anyway. They speak anyway. They launch anyway. They write, build, show up anyway. So instead of asking, what if I fail? Ask, what if I don't try? Because regret will always weigh more than failure. Now listen closely. The most valuable thing you own is not your money, not your connections, not your status. It's your time. Time is your currency. It is slipping through your hands at the same rate as everyone else's rich or poor, talented or lost. The difference, some spend it, some invest it, and some waste it completely. Every day you delay your dream is a day you trade potential for safety. You can always make more money, but you will never make more time. Let that settle in. Time is what transforms the average into legends. Because while most are killing time, the greats are building empires with theirs. They don't ask, how long will it take? They ask, how far can I go if I start right now? Stop measuring time by clocks. Start measuring it by impact. Not by the number of hours you worked, but by what those hours produced. And remember this, it's not too late, it's not too early, it's not too hard. It's just waiting for you to treat it like it matters. And if you want to master time, you must master consistency. Let's be honest, the world is filled with people who start. People who get excited. People who post their goals. Who sprint for 7 days and burn out in 8. But the ones who become unstoppable, they show up every single day. Not just when it's exciting, not just when motivation is high, but especially when it's boring, when it's painful, when it's invisible. Because the truth is, the extraordinary is built in the ordinary. Not in bursts, not in hype, but in daily decisions to show up, do the work, and not negotiate with your vision. Consistency isn't glamorous. It won't go viral. It won't always feel like progress. But it is the compound interest of greatness. You want a stronger mind, train it every morning. You want a better body, move every day. You want a legacy, build every hour brick by brick, long after the crowd is gone. Because when others give up in silence, you continue in silence. That's the difference. And that brings us to the final truth. Legacy. What will they remember when your name is just a story? What will echo when your voice is no longer in the room? Because all of this is not just about success, not just about money or freedom or goals checked off a list. This is about what you leave behind. Legacy is not built in speeches. It's built in standards. It's built in how you treat people, in the energy you bring into a room, in the way you handle failure and how you lift others through theirs. Your legacy is the sum total of every small decision you made when no one was watching. It's the smile you gave, the child you inspired, the team you led with integrity, the message you lived so boldly that it changed someone else's path forever. Legacy is living in a way that makes the world better because you existed. So, dream big, move bold, but live with weight. Because every breath you take has value. Every day you're given is a seed, and what you plant will grow. So as you stand here now at the edge of everything you were and everything you could be, there's only one question left. Will you keep waiting, or will you decide right now that this is the moment you stop dreaming and start becoming, and when all is said and done, you won't be remembered for the dream you had. You'll be remembered for the dream you lived, for the fire you lit, not just in your own life, but in the lives of those who watched you rise. Not because you were perfect, but because you kept showing up raw, real, relentless. They will remember that you didn't wait, that you didn't shrink, that you didn't ask for permission. They'll say, they moved different, they carried weight, they stood for something. And maybe one day, someone will stand where you stood. Faced with fear, with uncertainty, with a dream too big for logic. And they'll say, if they could do it, maybe I can too. That is impact. That is purpose. That is the ripple of a life fully lived. So don't wait one more breath. This is your time. This is your name. This is your becoming. Now go and make it unforgettable.